Denver at the Chargers. Could this be the final nail in the coffin for Brandon Staley? We're going to see a new head coach next week in LA.
It just feels impossible that he's going to be in a job in February. And I take no pleasure in that, because Brandon Staley, when he came in as coach of the Chargers, was really analytically driven, and he did stuff that other coaches sneered at. But too many things have been a problem. The defense is just horrendous. They can't stop anyone. I think you immediately look at this game and go, okay, well, Cortland Sutton's in for another good game because he scored third most receiving touchdown among wide receivers. He's had 6 top 24 weeks as a result of this. And the Chargers pass defense, they ranked 27th in DVOA, 28th as wide receiver ones. Since week 10, the only team to not have a 19-point performance out of a wide receiver against the Chargers was last week with the Patriots. And even then, they managed, I think Devontae Parker had 11 points, which, given that they scored 0 points on offense, is actually fairly impressive. So, yeah, I think it's quite a simple one for me this game. I want to start Russ Wilson. He's finished between QB 10 and QB 18 over the last 5, and in Superflex leagues, he's been fantastic as your QB 2. He's had 21 rush attempts in the last 2 games for 34 and 44 yards, a rushing touchdown in both, which it's just not what we were seeing from him last year. Jerry Jeudy, I can't start anywhere. I mean, he's had 1 touchdown all year, not finished inside the top 24 wide receivers any week. And Javonte Williams, he's kind of a fringe running back 2 every week. But the explosivity, it's not there. The efficiency isn't there. And even against the Chargers defense, that isn't particularly good against the run. They rank 22nd in DVOA. I'm just not sure I have confidence that he's going to get enough touches. On the other side of the ball, this is one of those games where it should be, if people talk up Austin Eckler as an automatic play this week, I'll gladly fade him, because everything that the Broncos have done this year gets viewed through the lens of, okay, well, they give up lots of fantasy points to the running back position. But that's massively inflated by the game against the Dolphins from earlier on in the season. Since week 6, they've completely clamped down on the amount of points that they allow to the position. So I don't want to start Austin Eckler because he's been miserable. And in 2 of the last 3 games, he's had 3 targets. That is not going to do it for a guy who has lived off his efficiency through the passing game. Keenan Allen was the first. Last week was the first time that he's had less than 8 touches since week 7. He's battling through injuries. It's going to be like this the rest of the way, but I think that this is a decent enough of a matchup where he can be good again. And then Gerald Everett, he's had back-to-back games with 40-plus yards, which, he's been a tight end 1 in both games. So in a game against the Broncos, who allow the second most fantasy points to tight ends, ranked dead last in DVOA against tight ends, it's probably going to end up being Donald Parham, who pops up for a couple of touchdowns. But one of them is going to get there, because in 9 of the Broncos' 12 games this year, they've allowed a tight end 1 performance. Only the Bengals allowed more yards to the position than them. And perhaps we get a little more clarity at wide receiver with Josh Palmer. He's coming off IR. Jalen Guyton's kind of been okay, but it just feels like what we've seen so far is what it is. It's going to be Keenan Allen and then occasionally days from other players.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't get on board with any sort of Austin Eckler hype. As you said, you laid it out there, the stats perfectly. But let's be honest, he's looked awful the last few weeks. I know he's had a high ankle injury, and yes, backs do tend to struggle after those. But he doesn't look like the athlete he was. He looks slow. He looks unagile, if that's even a word. I think he's done in Los Angeles. I think there's going to be a new regime. I don't think they're going to re-sign him as a free agent. And let's be honest, I can't see a team going out and spending big money. So I think his fantasy days as a relevant superstar are sadly long gone, because I think that's it. We can pull the plug on him.